Welcome to this program. Today we are going to discuss about legalization of drugs. We have 4 participants who will debate about this topic. Diego and Emily are going to be in favor, and Vanessa and Indira are going to be against. All of them have from 1 minute and 30 seconds to 2 minutes maximum. Now we are going to start. Diego, it's your turn.
Hello, my name is Diego Zambrano, and today I'm going to tell you something about the legalization of drugs. Remember that the big drugs traffic are the one how the benefits the most from the current provision, and the anti-drug operation carried out in the country serve to eliminate the competition they faced from small and medium distributors. This happened this happened for the last 70 years ago in Colombia. Therefore, we must thinking about the change the system exchange for the imposing very high taxes. The same thing that happened with the tobacco and could be happening. This means that government could be stop spending billion of money on the fight against drugs, and resources that could be used to the medical treatment of the drugs addiction. It's all.
Now is the turn of Vanessa.
My name is Vanessa Melo. Okay, Diego, I think your point of view is good one, but I think that the income of drug traffickers can be to some extent. Even some groups would disintegrate, but this doesn't guarantee that this group disappear completely. In fact, this would lead them to commit other criminal acts where there would be more violence. Therefore, that wouldn't ensure a positive change. On the other hand, legalizing drugs would be a disaster for everyone, since it is impossible to defeat drug trafficking. And in this process of legalization, there could be even more deaths. I also think that drugs have been used as an element of domination of some people over others. And the best idea to combat this is to improve the process against drugs. Also, coordination between governments is necessary so that production doesn't move from one country to another. Likewise, the best way to end this isn't to give a wrong message to young people, making them believe that because drugs are legal, they don't represent risks.
Now is my turn. I am Emily Sarmiento. I think legalization would end the lucrative part of the drug business by bringing the existing black market to the surface. Moreover, with the disappearance of drug trafficking, the social problems linked to this activity dramatically diminish. The current prohibition of drugs doesn't stop the market. It has simply submerged it under the cloak of illegality. And when a business is a crime, criminals will take part in it. Therefore, legalization would dramatically reduce the price of drugs by ending the very high cost of production and intermediation that prohibition implies. This means that many people who are addicted to these substances will not have to steal or prostitute themselves in order to pay for the current inflated price of this substance. And now is the turn of Indira.
Well, I have to admit that I used to support legalizing all drugs from marijuana to heroin and cocaine, but then I knew about the US opioid epidemic and I changed my mind completely. America's worst crisis shows us what happens when a dangerous addictive substance is made easily accessible. In terms of overdoses, the opioid epidemic is deadlier than any other drug crisis in US history, more than crack, meth, and any other heroin epidemic. This crisis was exactly what anti-legalization activists have warned about. Companies took control of a dangerous, addictive product, marketed irresponsibly, and lobbied for lax rules. The government regulators' response failed. The government even worked with the drug companies, in some cases under the influence of lobbying, campaign donations, and drug maker funded advocacy groups. And people got addicted and died. It is very important that we identify that legalization is not going to take place in a romantic way, but rather how capitalism takes place by giving more strength to those who already have it.
Now is the turn of Diego.
Okay, very good point, my friend Indira. But in this case, I want to remember that the opioid crisis in the 1918 in the USA was caused by manipulation of the information by pharmaceutical companies. They learned from the mistakes. In this moment, the United States began a new drugs legalization process with the legalization of the cannabis. In this country, there are many people benefited. For example, people with very, very seriously illness, Parkinson and epilepsy parents can now access better cannabis treatment. And another clear example is that happened in Canada and Portugal. These countries legalized the drugs. Many years ago, when these countries legalized the drugs, there was no significant increase in the drugs use. In fact, in the most case, there has been the decrease in drugs use. It's all my friend India.
Now continue, Vanessa.
Okay, another point of which I disagree. I also believe that we have to think about the well-being of the population. It is clear that the more drugs are available, the more consumption is increased in people, and that will bring many negative consequences. Even to people who consume habitually, they can generate family, relational, and social problems, just as it is proven that the consumption of drugs intervenes in the appearance of different diseases that can affect the mind and the organism. I will take marijuana as an example. Although this is an illegal substance, it's the most consumed by the community, where many deaths are reported annually. Now, also take into account the consumption of tobacco and alcohol, legal but no less dangerous substances, and which brings with it many deaths. So let's ask ourselves, do we want to open the doors to illegal drugs by increasing the number of addicts and deaths from this cause? Would the planet be better off with an increasing number of addicts? I don't think so. For that reason, I don't agree with that.
Now is the turn of Emily. Legalization will lead society to learn to live with drugs, just as it has done with other substances such as alcohol and tobacco. The social learning process is extremely valuable to be able to diminish and internalize the negative effects that derive from the consumption and abuse of certain substances. However, policies such as prohibition by turning consumers into criminals discourage the appearance of behaviors and social attitudes necessary to be able to deal with the problems of addiction and early use of these substances. Now, continue Indira.
I think we have to demystify that legalization will bring security and reduce consumption. There are things that will not happen, and not necessarily addiction will diminish. With the toughest drugs, especially, there is plenty of room for error. Let's consider the cigarettes. Of course, smoking rates have been reduced largely thanks to government efforts, but despite that, smoking still kills a staggering 500,000 people each year. Then there is the alcohol. According to the latest estimate, excessive alcohol consumption is related to approximately 88,000 deaths and millions of hospitalizations each year. In any case, this seems to be getting worse as drug overdose deaths have increased, so alcohol related deaths. And while experts have all sorts of ideas to combat alcohol abuse and death, legislators and regulators have done little at all. So, as a conclusion, we can say that it is of vital importance that governments consider this debate on the legalization of drugs so we can find an alternative to save millions of lives that are being shattered by addiction. Thank you very much for your attention.